navigating fashion in the social media age. So, in this little mini course here, guys, I really want to give you guys all the knowledge I've accumulated over the last few years, right? Going through my fashion journey. And I really want to endow you guys with the tools to build your own personal style. Oh, this mic's like shaking all over the place. But primarily, trends are such a huge thing in our kind of zeitgeist of fashion we're going through right now. And I want to give you guys all the knowledge about all the trends we have popping off, how to analyze these trends, how to assess if these trends are appropriate for you, and just the kind of design language and design principles that go behind all of these trends, and simple color principles, and things that will get you understanding how to build aesthetic outfits. So let's get into it. Now, why should you improve your style in the first place? This one can be a question asked by a lot of people, especially if you're not too into the whole fashion community in the first place, because a lot of people might perceive fashion as a sort of mundane hobby and not really understand the importance of fashion in your day-to-day life, because essentially fashion is a soft power. Fashion communicates so much to people, so much to your external world, so much to your internal world as well. That is so important to understand that improving your style will have an incredible impact on your life. Not only is fashion a creative outlet that allows you to kind of experiment and stimulate your creative brain in that sense, right? It's also a good hobby to engage in. You're able to sort of build these communities of people where you can discuss about ongoing trends, discuss about latest releases, discuss about statement pieces, discuss about controversial opinions, kind of just another outlet for socializing. And if you guys really think about it, right? What is life without relationships? Because relationships are one of the key, most important things for human beings. Being we're social creatures essentially. And with my point earlier about fashion being a soft power, the clothing you wear exudes a power on the external world. In the same sense that your internal perception of yourself affects the actual external occurrence of things in life, the clothing you wear affects the way people perceive you, the way you perceive yourself. And in essence, law of attraction will also affect the way opportunities and situations arise in your life. One thing I always want to tell you guys is you need to be more intentional and direct with your style. Having a more cohesive wardrobe with more selected pieces and more thought out pieces actually saves you money. Because a lot of the people who don't look to improve their style, who constantly engage in that fast fashion, are routinely buying clothing after clothing after clothing after clothing, poor quality clothing, or necessarily they're not even understanding what clothes they need to actually give themselves that type of style that they're looking for. So if you really look to improve your style, understand the aesthetics you're going for, and understand the pieces you need in your wardrobe, you in essence actually save money because you're doing less shopping. Some of the pieces might be a little bit of a higher premium per se, but those are investments in the sense that they're less replaceable. You will keep them in your wardrobe for a longer time. And with me, I can full-heartedly speak onto the impact fashion has had in my life. I literally used to be a kid who only wore hand-me-downs, whatever my mum bought me, whatever my brother didn't wear anymore. And I used to just look at fashion as an unimportant type of thing. I didn't really look at it as an impactful kind of hobby that it can be, essentially, right? And it's quite funny, right? Because if you look at this picture here, it's quite funny. This would be the picture on the right. This would be the moment that I started to kind of try to improve my fashion sense. And I really wanted to kind of just self-improve and become the best person I could. And the two biggest things in my life that really, really changed my life for the best, by far has to be fashion and fitness. This was the point where I really started to get into a good routine and really understanding colors, understanding fabrics, understanding accessories, and starting to put the things together. I literally remember the first time I put this outfit on here, the immense self-esteem, the confidence, everything that I felt. This is the soft power I'm talking about with your clothing. It literally can affect your internal mind, which then affects your external reality. And in relation to gym, this was just an amazing combination at the time where I started to really make gains with the gym, make gains with my fashion. And having this happen at the same time for me, guys, this was life changing. I literally felt like I became a new person because I always grew up being a kind of like scrawny, shy. People would always look over me. My brother was a lot more extroverted and a lot more out there, a lot more of a likable person. And I always would look at myself and just think that I wish I could be like that. I wish people liked me like that. I wish I kind of had that impact in people's lives. And I remember as I started to improve my fashion game, get in the gym, I really started to become way more confident, way more talkative, way more charismatic. And it was like a snowball effect because the more I got into fashion, the more I got into gym, the more I got into general self-improvement, the more I became a competent and really outgoing person. So the fashion honestly saved my life. Honestly saved my life. I can't imagine where I'd be at this point if I'd never got into fashion, never got into gym, stayed that kind of scrawny incel gamer dude. Because I was chronically online, guys, if you think about it. And fashion has been an outlet that's it's just gotten me out there and gotten me out of my comfort zone. But with the main topic we want to talk about here, what is a trend exactly? Let me see if I can move this shit, guys. Move this bitch right here. So a trend is honestly just a massively popular way to style your clothing, right? So a trend is a specific way people either style their clothing or a specific item that occurs in constant outfits you see back to back, back to back, back to back. So when something is in trend, it's socially accepted to be stylish, regardless of any previous experience, any previous bias, any bad light that piece of item or that way of styling was seen before. It's now considered socially acceptable and socially stylish, which is a weird thing, right? Because when you think about it, with the way these trends work, even if you don't think an item is stylish yourself, because of that mass hype thinking, knowing something is in trend, when you see someone wear a trendy item, you perceive them to be stylish. Even if you yourself don't actually like that item or like that type of trend, just because you know it's socially accepted to be in trend, just them wearing it makes you think, okay, they have some modicum of style or they are trying to have some modicum of style. You will always perceive them in a more positive light because they're wearing a trendy item. And I thought this was a cool graph to include here, right? Because you can kind of see the fashion cycle of a trendy item, right? So you can see once the trend is introduced here, the demand and the sale increases. And this is the introductory phase before we skyrocket to the acceptance phase, where now a lot of people are mass adopting this. The trend is blowing up. This is the point where you start to see shit pop off on TikTok, pop off on Instagram, pop up on Twitter, everything, YouTube. You start to see videos, everything. This is the point where the item is reaching the height, the peak of popularity. And like everything, once we reach the peak, we start to have a lot of fatigue. And you start to see a decline in the demand for that same item. Things can't be trendy forever. There will just come a time, maybe with the human condition, we just get tired and seek new things. The novelty wears off, and everything will eventually start to decline. And once you see the decline happen here, it kind of happens rapidly because a lot of the times when this decline is happening, you have another item which is going through an increase. So a lot of the times when something starts to decline, you're having another trend which is slowly picking up at the same time. So once the trend starts to decline here, this is when we start to see the rejection phase. When a super, super trendy item, and this phase here, honestly, guys, in the last previous 2 to 3 years, you've probably seen a lot of videos talk about this, where we're really in an era of micro trends. This trend here and this part here, these two halves of the cycle are happening so quickly now, But regardless, once an item is here and hits the rejection phase, this is when you start to get clowned on, you start to get roasted in the group chat, and where wearing this item is actually probably worse than wearing an item that has recently gone out of trend is probably actually worse than wearing an objectively uglier, less aesthetic item. Because once something, and I suppose it's a psychology of recency bias. Once we know that something has recently been out of trend and you're still wearing it, it changes the perception of people. And back to the whole topic I said about fashion communicating your soft power, it changes the whole way you're perceived and you look to be really out of style, like really washed up, unaware of, fashion forward movements. So you never want to be at this stage here, guys, where you're wearing something that's been recently rejected. Unless you per se love the item and you weren't necessarily hopping on it because of the trend, you had been wearing this before it was trendy, then it necessarily doesn't matter if you wear it, if it's out the trend, right? Because essentially, I always say this in all my videos, fashion is about being you, yourself. But in relation to hopping on trends and keeping up with trends, if you ever pick up a trend and you ride the peak of popularity, as soon as that bitch is rejected out, take them bitches off. Like, take them bitches off. That's all I gotta say. Do not wear an item as soon as it's been recently rejected out of the fashion trend cycle. And just a quick examination of some trends from previous decades, right? I thought this would be quite interesting to put. But if you actually notice, back in the 70s, flared jeans were super trendy. So this kind of silhouette with the straight leg, with a little flare towards the boot, this was very trendy in the 70s. And in the 80s, we had pearl necklaces, very trendy in the 80s, pearl necklaces. So back to the whole examination about the trend cycle, these obviously would have been introduced in, peaked, and then declined and got out. But what I want to bring your attention to here is the fact that what do we see trending now, guys, in the 2020s? Flared jeans, pearl necklaces. This is what I mean when I say fashion is cyclical. A lot of the trends that come in and go out, one way or the other, tend to return back in. Now, how do we actually digest trends? So my main point about observing trends and keeping up with trends, right? You have to actually understand how to find these trends before they pop up, or even finding them before they've reached their peak, because you want to get the most life out of these trends when you hop onto them. So a key thing to find trends, honestly, is going to be social media. Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and look at this one here, guys, going outside. But to be honest, the going outside method is really limited to your locality. Unless you live in, let's say, New York, LA, Berlin, one of these really fashion-forward cities, right? Where a lot of innovative contemporary styles are kind of emerging, right? You're not really going to observe trends in real reality, because a lot of these trends now that we're seeing in our kind of generation are really fixated to the internet. A lot of these trends can be online per se, where you see these very popular and very trendy online, but once you go outside, you don't see them anywhere. But primarily the best way to really digest trends is going to be Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, social media as a whole. But even better than all of these, the next one that is the best way by far to digest trends, guys, is going to be Pinterest. Pinterest is an amazing platform to find a lot of fashion inspo. This is by far, ever since I started using this has by far helped my knowledge, helped my general sense of styling, and just my awareness of what's going on in the fashion zeitgeist. Pinterest, and I'll show you guys exactly what I mean. Like, so look at this, guys, right? With the Pinterest, might get rid of that. Guys, this is actually the most real as fuck web mini course out there, guys. Don't mind me just watching some anime up here, but in regards to Pinterest, right? If you look at this, one thing about Instagram, YouTube, and the other platforms that can be quite annoying is you have to follow the correct influencers, the correct social media guys, who are putting on the type of style you like, their general aesthetic, in order to get that inspo. Whereas Pinterest, you don't necessarily have to follow anyone. It just works like an SEO search engine. You can literally type up the style you want. So for instance, if I want to see, let's just say, sporty streetwear looks, right? Fuck, I wish I could type, bro. Sporty streetwear men outfits. Something like that, right? Something like that. So if you look at that, boom, you get flooded with a collection of just people's outfits that they've posted. They've done like the right hashtags, etc., etc. And this can just fuel your fashion trends digestion, right? Because if you're able to just look at what's going on, mind you, there's a few ads here and there, guys, but you kind of get the gist of what I'm saying. And then let's say I wanted to find, oh, you guys will love this one, right? Let's say I wanted to find some old money outfits, right? Old money outfits. Now look at this. You're just able to see exactly what you're looking for, find all the lookbooks you could ever need, the inspo you could ever need, all from Pinterest without even having to invest the time to find the right influencer, find the right fashion pages, find the right, like, this is literally the best way by far to absorb trends and digest trends. More so to find inspo, I would say, to be honest. Because in terms of trends is more of a social occurrence, right? Where you might see a celebrity put them on and regard, etc., right? But if you're on Pinterest, this is the best way to absorb looks and kind of just see what's going on by far. Let's get back to the course, guys. So Pinterest is going to be the best way to digest trends outside of social media, right? And now let's talk about the common aesthetics we see. And obviously there's going to be a lot of trends and aesthetics out there, but I just wanted to break it down to the key ones that we tend to see in our day-to-day feed and etc. And I want to just quickly talk about all these trends and talk about key pieces within all of these, how to judge if it's appropriate for your style, if the trend's right for you, and just my general thoughts on all of these aesthetics, all these trends, right? So first, we're going to have business core. And business core predominantly is a bit more formal and a bit more preppy, but with a bit of an edge, street kind of undertone as well. And the main key factor I see happening with business core is predominantly going to be a white button up, right? Or button down. Some dude in my YouTube video was trying to tell me the difference between a button up and button down. My bro, who cares, right? But anyway, a white button up, right? With some dress pants, some tailored trousers, some leather shoes, loafers, Oxfords, whatever, right? RM Williams, Chelsea boots. And a big thing I've really seen in a lot of these business core looks is they'll have the tie and they'll juxtaposition this whole fit with like an edgy, casual kind of jacket, either like a leather jacket or like a denim jacket. But predominantly, the biggest thing about business core is just having that sharp contrast between formal with a more casualized street undertone. So typically, the trousers and the shoes are going to be the core thing. And the button-up shirt with some kind of contrasting jacket, or even the contrasting pants, really. It's not that you necessarily have to have one or the one and one to kind of make it work together, right? But just having one kind of formal piece contrasted with a more street piece is going to be the key thing with business core. And now with a more preppy kind of look, this one is just really, and I think preppy, this traditional preppy look is kind of going out of style now, per se. I don't see many people kind of adopting this look because, to be honest, old money and business core kind of like shit on this look, right? This looks pretty like outdated. But it's just kind of like clean, minimal cuts, like really simple branding with like dressy shoes. And like this guy's got like shorties rocking here with like a nice little hat. Bloke core here, which I don't know how to feel about the bloke core movement per se, because I feel like a lot of people are just calling any outfit with a soccer jersey bloke core now. But let's just say soccer jerseys in general, right? The whole advent of soccer jerseys and all that stuff in fashion, right? This one I can really get behind because I really love that really urban street kind of look, juxtaposition with like more relaxed sweatpants here, or like with the hype kind of shoes. The accessories here really bring it together. But the main thing when you want to ask yourself before you delve into any of these trends is, do you actually like these trends? And I know that can sound really ridiculous, right? Really stupid. But before you jump into any of these trends, fuck what the main masses are saying. Fuck what social media is saying. Do you actually look at these outfits and you think, wow, this looks cool. This is hard. Like, this has grown on me. Or are you just jumping into it because you want to be perceived in a certain way? That's going to be the first thing you need to ask yourself, because fashion, first and foremost, is an expression of yourself. You never want to just blindly copy something without the actual underlying appreciation or underlying understanding of what you're copying. So before you jump into any of these trends, do you actually like these trends? And then once you've gone through that, right, you want to ask yourself, does it suit my body? Does it suit my lifestyle? Like, for instance, business core. Are you like a 16-year-old kid? This would look a bit weird if you're rocking business school, right? Like, what are you doing, bro? You just go to high school, right? Or preppy, are you in a more kind of street, kind of rougher sort of area? Which I don't necessarily think you can't rock preppy if you do happen to live in that area, but it's just something to be cognizant about, right? And some trends tend to take off a lot more because they're a lot more applicable to a lot of these factors I just talked about, right? So, for instance, blokecore, very relaxed, very easygoing. Sports is like globally accepted everywhere, right? Everyone loves sports, repping their team's spirit and everything. So this can be a trend that's more easily adopted and easily adapted by you, but just something to be aware about when I say make sure the trends actually suit you. And next we have Opium, then we have Y2K, then we've got Soft Boy. Opium, to be honest, is dying out. Like, I really don't think this one is going to last much longer, especially now in 2024. This was predominantly pushed by Cardi and Destroy Lonely and that old type of Opium label group, right? Like a real grungy, like Vetmons, like kind of, you know, Antichrist type of a look, which I do think it was sort of cool, like a little remix on like the olden day scene kids and everything, but it's just too kind of out there. Like a lot of these fits are they look like costumes rather than actual outfits, you know? And when a style is very hard to wear day to day, that's what I think really limits the trend lifespan. But now to Y2K. Y2K, I love. We've just had this constant resurgence and constant like love for the 90s, the 2000s, which is still going hard, which might be because of Generation Z, right? So obviously as we tend to get a bit older, maybe like 10 years from now, the 90s into 2000s might be a bit kind of played out and a little bit on the way out, like going through the rejection phase. But at least right now, Y2K, 90s, everything is still going very hard. I really love this style here. This one definitely is a lot easier for you to style, but you just want to be aware of your proportions, right? So don't go too baggy if you tend to be a lot more of a shorter stature. And next we have the Soft Boy appeal. This one's okay. This one's okay. It had its kind of limelight for a little bit, right? But I think a lot of people got hip to the whole meme with tote bags and, you know, the whole baseball caps and everything like that. But it is a very clean aesthetic, and generally anyone can rock this, right? It really depends on if you look at it and if it appeals to you. Now, next we have workwear, streetwear, and athleisure wear, right? Workwear, to be honest, even though this one very, very trendy and recently very trendy, right? I still believe this one is going strong for a couple more, like at least a year or so more. Because in general, like the aesthetics, the looks is very clean cut, nice, like kind of outfits. I really like the jacket here. And in general, we've kind of been going through a fatigue with sneakers. So a lot more of these aesthetics that lean towards leather shoes, boots, and all these different type of styling with the shoes, right? This is going to be what people are more into now as we kind of get away from the Jordans, the Dunks, and, you know, all the crazy Yeezy collabs that we used to have back in the day. We're moving more towards, you know, like your business core, your workwear, the Opium. Like people really like this more diverse, different type of styling. Streetwear still is going to be always relevant, right? Because streetwear really, what is streetwear really? Streetwear is essentially anything that you try to put on and represent your kind of urban, fluid expression of your style, right? Like streetwear is just anything, regardless. Of course, there was a point last year or a couple of years ago where it was very cookie cutter, right? Like oversized graphic tee, cargos, Jordans, like, you know, we all hated that, right? But streetwear is more than just that. So streetwear is always going to be perfect and definitely leans towards a more youthful look. So especially if you're like a teenager, I can definitely recommend streetwear to be aesthetic you get into, right? Athleisure wear, for my gym bros out here, athleisure wear is very nice. A little bit drawn out and kind of boring at times. So I don't necessarily say to make this your key wardrobe aesthetic, but obviously having some athleisure wear pieces here and there, I think is amazing, right? Like very comfortable, athletic, and encourages you to keep an active lifestyle too. Because if you're wearing those clothes, right? Back to what I said about fashion being a soft power, right? If you're wearing sporty clothes, it will have like a mental association with just wanting to exercise more. So I definitely do fuck with leisure wear, but I don't think it should be something that you predominantly make your entire wardrobe. Just have a few outfits here and there, a few pieces here and there. probably just for when you actually work out, right? I don't think this has to be a style you rock day to day outside of your gym or your sports life per se, because then it gets a bit drawn out. You don't want to be that dude who is whose whole entire life is like, whose whole entire personality is centered around one thing. And then we're gonna have Gorpcore and Quiet Luxury. Gorpcore is definitely still a thing. I do know I have gone on videos and talked about this being something that's dying out, but to kind of rectify that, right? It's more so Arc'teryx that's dying out. I feel Gorpcore is still, and if anything, maybe Quiet Gorpcore, a little more low-key, subtle interpretations of Gorpcore, what's going to happen. But Gorpcore is still going heavy, and if anything, I think it will go stronger and kind of replace techwear. If you guys remember techwear back in 2013, 2014, Gorpcore is essentially like a fresh, new, contemporary retake on that, which I think will really grow to have its own strong position in fashion. So Gorpcore is still going to be a thing. And if you guys really live that outdoorsy life, you kind of enjoy that, or you just like the functionality, like the idea of like your clothing being very functional, then Gorpcore is definitely something for you. Quiet Luxury is what I'm saying has kind of replaced preppy, because this is just a much more elegant, much more softer, much more cleaner kind of interpretation of preppy, right? And I feel like it's more mature and grown up at the same time, but not to necessarily talk shit about the outfits themselves are actually very nice. It's more the obnoxious kind of undertones around the people really pushing for Quiet Luxury and old money, all this, right? The general just sense of classism that everyone kind of just talks about. It's what's made this kind of aesthetic a bit corny. But in terms of like pure objective looks, like I do think Quiet Luxury is a very, very nice type of style. And obviously as you get older, there's going to be something you look to kind of add to your wardrobe, because you can't just wear the casual, really like dressed down outfits all the time. You want to have some real like, big stepper kind of stuff. But those are going to be the most common aesthetics I want to talk to you guys about, and really sit down and look at all of these and just kind of think number one, do I actually like this trend? Is this something I actually genuinely think is cool? And number two, does it work with my body type? Three as well, I suppose you could say, is it within my budget, right? A lot of these pieces, a lot of this style might require you to get some crazy archive pieces, or for instance, like Opium, right? That would be very expensive to dress in compared to, let's say, like workwear, right? Or even compared to streetwear per se. But just look at these trends and think about these things before you actually delve into them. Your lifestyle, budget, and do I like the style, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Damn, sorry guys. Now, color is going to be the biggest thing that can throw off the appeal of an outfit. You want to make sure the colors you put together with the actual fits are either going to complement the outfit, you're either going for a monochromatic look, or you're just going for a nice contrast. So when I say complement here, I mean the use of complementary colors. So on the color wheel here, the use of complementary colors, which is essentially colors that are opposite to them on the color wheel. And then you have monochromatic, which is where you use the same color in an outfit. So even though it's the same color, it's differentiated by different shades. So you can see this is like a green monochromatic outfit. It's got like a pastel, like a foresty green, or maybe like a foresty green here. And then, bro, who knows what you guys call these colors, right? But you guys get what I'm trying to say. Using different shades of colors within the same outfit. And then you can go for a contrast, which is going to just be using colors that contrast each other. And playing around with the contrast makes outfits more interesting. In terms of styling, my favorite way to style is definitely going to be monochromatic and contrasting. I feel like these are the most visually interesting ways to put together outfits. Another way that you can put together outfits in terms of color theory, I like to call it just being very chaotic. So just a chaotic mismatch of colors, splatters, textures everywhere, right? But even though you're having this chaotic mismatch, you want to have some contrast between the rest of the pieces, because this is what just makes them very visually appealing to look at. If you just look at the way some of these colors contrast each other, some of the ways these textures contrast each other, it makes the outfits very stand out. That's what makes your outfits very bold and interesting instead of very plain and boring. Not to say that having a plain and boring outfit sucks, but it just depends on what you're going for. Because obviously a nice, cool, monochromatic outfit, I can fuck with that too. Like a nice gray on gray, like very cool, mature, kind of cool vibes. But then if you really want to go and get really into the fashion, chaotic and contrasting are going to be the two tools you need to incorporate. And even though neutral colors tend to look more mature and the individual pieces are like a lot more versatile and reusable, right? Like I'm saying before, this is a very clean outfit. Don't get me wrong, but it's not the same type of energy you're getting from these type of looks here. Like that colorful, more unhinged type of look, it definitely gives off a more youthful, creative energy, you know? These type of outfits are a lot more fun and exciting to put together versus this type of outfit. Having the right color combination, even if you do go crazy chaotic, right? If you manage to get the right color combination here, it makes the outfit it just makes them hit different. Like a monochromatic outfit like this will always hit. This is very clean, don't get me wrong. But if you manage to get the right chaotic contrast here, this is where people will turn their heads and be like, damn, he's like really putting it on, you know? These are where the right color combination ends up producing the most stunning outfits. Now, I'll include some lookbook inspiration and I'll put my fashion cheat sheet here for you guys as well, because I really want you guys to kind of sit down and look at the things I've put together in terms of my recommendations, how to style, the best brands, all that type of shit, right? But essentially, that's going to be the whole mini course, my guys. Maybe like a seminar, who knows what I call this bitch, right? But I just wanted to kind of talk to you guys about a few of these concepts and let you guys know that if you really invest in your fashion and your style, especially with acquiring knowledge, this is going to be the best way to really improve how you look on a day-to-day basis. So alongside this video, guys, I'm going to include like my fashion cheat sheet, my affordable fashion resource list, and also like a few lookbook inspo for you guys to put together some quick outfits, just like a template of outfits that I think will really apply to a lot of day-to-day occasions you might have, and give you guys a little more diversity with your looks and just less difficulty trying to put together outfits. Because if you have something you can just follow and understand that this is a tried and tested, proven outfit, then it's easier for you to kind of take that outfit and then incorporate your own flair and change it up, right? So I'm going to put that in maybe like a little folder with this or some shit, right? But yeah, that's going to be it, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed that. Peace out.